The violin case felt heavy in my hands, heavier than its worn leather and light would should have accounted for. It contained my grandfather's legacy, a beautiful, handcrafted violin that had not been played in over 40 years. My grandfather was a composer of renown in his youth, but he had fallen silent decades ago, refusing to touch the instrument or even hum a tune after my grandmother passed. He simply faded into the background of our family life, a quiet, gentle ghost. Now the violin was mine, willed to me along with his small, secluded cottage by the sea. I had inherited his quiet nature, but none of his musical genius. I couldn't read sheet music if my life depended on it. I felt a profound disconnection from the man I barely knew, a man whose soul was etched in the lines of music I couldn't understand, a man I only remembered as a silent figure staring at the horizon. The cottage was beautiful, perched on a cliffside with windows overlooking a restless, gray ocean. It was filled with dusty photographs, stacks of sheet music I couldn't decipher, and a grand piano that had clearly seen better days. The silence in the house was profound. I had moved from the noisy, bustling city to this quiet isolation, seeking a peace that seemed just out of reach. My days were filled with simple things: walking the rocky beach, sipping tea on the porch, and trying to make sense of my grandfather's meticulous, almost maddeningly complex compositions. I would spend hours just staring at the black ink on the white paper, those strange symbols that meant nothing to me, wondering how they could possibly translate into the soaring emotions I heard described in his old reviews. It was a shame that such a beautiful instrument, such a legacy of music, was trapped in perpetual silence, just like its maker had been. The weight of that silence pressed in on me one particularly stormy evening, the fierce weather mirroring the turmoil in my own heart. I was sitting by the fireplace, the only light coming from the dancing flames, holding the violin, running my fingers over the smooth, polished wood. The craftsmanship was astounding. The curves were perfect, the varnish a deep, rich amber. A faint engraving on the back caught my eye. It was an intricate, winding pattern, almost like a maze, with a small, barely visible inscription in the center. "Listen not with your ears, but your heart." It sounded like one of my grandfather's cryptic phrases, the kind of abstract wisdom he used to drop into conversation like a stone in water, frustrating my practical mind. As I traced the maze pattern, I felt a slight indentation under my fingertip. It was a tiny button, hidden within the winding lines of the carving. I pressed it. A small, secret panel on the side of the violin slid open with a soft snick. Inside the hidden compartment was a single, tightly rolled piece of parchment. It wasn't music. It was a map, drawn in vibrant blue and silver ink, detailing the cottage itself and the surrounding cliffs. Small symbols marked specific locations: a rocky cove, a specific tree, a cluster of stones. The paths between them were labeled with words like crescendo and aria and harmony. The entire landscape had been transformed into a map of sound. The blue ink seemed to glow faintly in the firelight, and I could swear I heard a faint echo of the storm outside within the very lines of the drawing. A thrilling realization washed over me. My grandfather hadn't just left me a quiet home and a silent violin. He had left me a mystery, a treasure hunt, a final composition. The silence of the cottage suddenly felt alive with potential. My life of quiet predictability was over. A melody was waiting to be discovered. I knew then that I had to follow this map, not with a musician's skill, but with the curiosity of a seeker, ready to finally understand the quiet man who had raised me. This was the real legacy. The storm had passed by morning, leaving the world outside scrubbed clean and sparkling under a weak sun. I tucked the rolled map into my pocket and took the violin with me, feeling a strange need for it as a companion. The air was crisp, the smell of salt and wet earth stronger than ever. I followed the first direction on the map, a path labeled Aria, which led me down a steep, winding trail toward the rocky cove below the house. The silver ink on the map glistened when exposed to the natural light, a sign that I was on the right path. The silence of the cliffs was only broken by the crash of waves and the crying of gulls. The map led me to a large, flat rock near the water's edge, marked with a small, stylized symbol of a treble clef. The stone felt cold under my fingers. My grandfather's Listen not with your ears, but your heart. I closed my eyes and tried to clear my mind of the city's noise, the worry, the expectation. I just listened to the world around me. I heard the rhythmic hush and crash of the waves. I heard the wind whistling through a crack in the cliff face. I heard the gulls. It was a symphony of natural sounds, a chaotic, beautiful thing. Then, faint beneath it all, I thought I heard a different sound. A low, resonant hum. I looked at the map again. The next path was labeled Resonance. I searched the cliff face and found a small, almost invisible opening hidden behind a thick clump of seagrass. I ducked inside. It was a narrow sea cave, the walls smooth and dark. The sound was louder here, a deep, continuous vibration that I could feel in my chest. It was beautiful, a single, pure note held in the stone. Deep within the cave, the map indicated another marker. It was a simple, smooth stone sitting on a ledge, bathed in a shaft of light from a high crack in the cave ceiling. When I touched it, the stone was warm, and the deep hum resonated even stronger. It was an emotional sound, a sound of peace and deep, quiet love. It felt like my grandmother. I took the stone with me and emerged from the cave, blinking in the bright sun. The next stage of the map took me up the cliff path and into the small, scrubby woods behind the cottage. The path was marked Crescendo. It led to the base of an old, gnarled oak tree. Here, the map indicated I needed to find a specific sequence of sounds. The stone I carried vibrated gently in my pocket, its hum a steady pulse. Around the tree were 5 carefully placed wind chimes, crafted from different lengths of driftwood and shell. They were silent in the still air. I had to create my own crescendo. I tapped each one in the order the map indicated. They rang out, each note building in intensity and joy. As the final, highest note faded, the ground beneath the tree gave a soft give. I brushed away the earth to find another small compartment. Inside was another stone, this one higher pitched, brighter by the time I returned to the cottage. I had collected 5 stones, each with a different, pure note, each resonating with a specific emotion. The deep peace of the cave stone, the bright joy of the chimes. I laid them out on the piano. They weren't just stones. They were the essence of the landscape captured in solid form. The map's final destination was the grand piano itself. The last label simply finale. I placed the 5 stones on the music rest. They began to glow, and the air around them vibrated. The silence of the cottage was finally broken, replaced by a beautiful, simple melody sung by the very house itself. I finally understood. My grandfather hadn't stopped composing. He had simply hidden his final, greatest symphony, the one I was now meant to play. I sat at the piano bench, a strange sense of calm settling over me. The 5 glowing stones rested on the music rack, casting a warm light across the yellowed keys. Each stone held its own captured song, a pure, resonant note that hummed in perfect harmony with the others. The one from the sea cave held a deep, grounding C. The one from the wind chimes a bright G. They sang together, a soft, ethereal background music in the quiet room. The map indicated that these 5 points were all the pieces, the essence of my grandfather's final work. The finale wasn't about reading music. It was about feeling it. I placed my hands on the piano keys, hesitant at first. I had never been able to play, but as my fingers found the C key, the deep sea cave stone pulsed with intense light. I played the next note that felt right, an E. The bright chime stone hummed in response. It wasn't about complex chords or technical skill. It was about following the emotion, the harmony that the stones were projecting into the air, guiding my intuition. I began to play a simple, flowing melody, one note after another, guided by the luminous objects. It was beautiful, haunting, and completely mine, yet entirely his. The music filled the cottage, pushing out the silence that had lived here for decades. It soared and dipped with the sound of the wind, the sea, the forest. As I played, images flashed in my mind. My grandfather's smiling face, my grandmother dancing in the living room, the 2 of them laughing together by the fire. I wasn't just playing music. I was experiencing his memories, his love story, the final movement of the map, labeled Harmony, was being realized. The tune reached its crescendo, a powerful, emotional swell of notes. The stones flared with light one last time, then faded to a gentle, steady glow. The music stopped, but the feeling remained. The silence that followed was different. It wasn't empty or sad. It was a warm, vibrant silence, full of love and understanding. I finally knew my grandfather. He hadn't stopped composing when my grandmother died. He had simply started composing a different kind of music, one that spanned the whole world around his home and was meant for me to find, so I could understand their love and his legacy. I picked up the violin, the instrument no longer feeling heavy and silent, but light and expectant. I didn't know how to play it yet, but I knew I could learn. My life in the quiet cottage was just beginning, and it was going to be filled with the most beautiful music.